you know, it's based on a book that is so loved, you know, and so that as a director, it is a bit of a it's almost like you're not shooting yourself in the foot, but at the same time it is, because it's people know it so well, and so was that a personal challenge of you that you wanted to overcome and make sure that, you know what, this is the one I'm going to use as my directorial debut?
Well, of course, that's the right question to ask. I would say it was less like shooting yourself in the foot and more like putting a 12-bore shotgun in your mouth. And hoping that you'd somehow miss, you know. We've been really fortunate that so far we're getting, I think, something like 75% to 80% positive reviews, and I think that is because partly we have this extraordinary performance by Andrea, who's worked with material I gave her to update and strengthen the character of Rose, who I do feel in the original 1947 movie gets something of sort of a misogynistic short shrift. You kind of feel like it's just a naive and deluded girl who's got it coming to her. But if you read the book, and the film is emphatically not a remake of the Bolting Brothers, it's an adaptation of the book ends with an allusion by Green to Rose's sainthood. Now, as a Catholic writer, that's an incredibly important allusion, and what I think he's saying is that Rose is a character of grand tragic stature, and I think that's what I wanted my Rose to be and what Andrea has more than delivered. So that alone, I feel, is kind of some vindication for this insane project. But you know, if Terrence Malick didn't go there and Martin Scorsese didn't go there and the Hughes brothers didn't go there, then what on earth made me go there? I think it was exactly that. Those were directors with reputations and careers to lose. I had nothing to lose, and I did what I did because I am insanely passionate about that love story. And when you fall in love with a project, you act irrationally, and what I've done is a crazy thing to do, but I felt I had to do it. It was the film I wanted to make.
Now, casting Andrea also, was that really difficult for you to kind of, or did you know her prior, or was this one of those things where you had to go through a lot of actresses and then finally this was one? What was it about her that you knew that she was going to be able to carry the film? And everybody's talking about her performance after watching it, and so it is this kind of gem that you have this diamond, you know.
Well, Andrea came in and read for the part of Rose, and it was such a knockout reading that I was really left in no doubt as to her ability to play the part. We, despite that, initially offered the role to Carey Mulligan, who was then unable to do it because she went off and did Wall Street 2. And that's one of those quirks of fate that you look back on and you're incredibly grateful for, not because Carey isn't a superb actress, which she is, but because I think Andrea brought a level of innocence and vulnerability to the role, and because I think Andrea is a unique actress in one way, which is that she's a chameleon. She's unrecognisable from one role to another, and because Andrea is ultimately about the characters she plays and not about Andrea, that indicates to me that we're looking at an actress with a very, very long career ahead of her, and I feel incredibly fortunate to have given her a role of this stature and size at just the right point in her career, which is like before the knee of the curve, you know, gets too steep for her to be available anymore to the likes of us, which was a medium to low budget British movie.
To be able to get funding for a medium to low budget British, I mean, is it more and more difficult these days to get films off the ground? And did it help that you had such an array of stuff that you'd already worked on, and so you had a track record of being a good screenwriter? You know, so did that add to maybe it's like, all right, well, of course you can, you know, or did you find it was a really long process for you to be able to make this stuff?
Well, yes, it's incredibly hard, horrendously hard to get a movie made, especially a movie with a dark love story at its centre, and a complex and difficult story to tell. I think what helped enormously was getting Helen Mirren attached, and that made the difference really between the amber light going green and the amber light going red. And it also gave me an enormous amount of confidence as a first-time director, because I thought, you know, if someone of Helen's stature has agreed to be in the movie, then she must believe I'm a relatively good bet. And I think she brought the character of Ida to life as well, in a way that even Green himself, when he was writing the book, he famously said she was a character that stubbornly refused to come off the page. The answer to your question is yes, it's hard, but I got lucky.
We've been talking about the women in the film, and there is also the male aspect of it. So what was it, Sam had come off of this, contact, and people had been talking about him. So what was it about him that you felt that he would be perfect to kind of represent?
Sam came in and met me. He didn't read for the part. I had seen him in Control because I'd looked at that movie with a view to writing The American for Anton Corbijn, and immediately Sam struck me as an extraordinary discovery that Anton had made. It didn't seem necessarily right for Pinky based on Control, but when I met Sam, I saw this extraordinary combination of menace and charm. He reminded me of Alain Delon, and Alain Delon's played bad boys better than any movie star of the kind of 60s and 70s in my DVD collection anyway, and I just sort of thought we'd be so lucky to get Sam. We offered him the part pretty much an hour after he left, and he agreed to do it because Sam likes a challenge.
Last question then. For those who aren't familiar with the story of Brighton Rock, can you maybe give a very quick description of...
Yeah, quick précis of the plot. Pinky is a young, ruthless, psychotic gangster determined to work his way up through the echelons of organised crime. In order to do that, he kills a guy very early on. That murder is witnessed by a young, geeky, innocent tea-room waitress called Rose. Pinky seduces Rose initially to find out how much she knows, and then marries her in order to ensure she keeps her mouth shut. My Rose agrees to the marriage because she would rather live with a glamorous, dangerous gangster than stay holed up in a council flat with an alcoholic father. But what ultimately unfolds is a tragic love story.